The second roster update, as we can see on the calendar, is coming this Friday, May 13th at noon Pacific. So this video, we're going over our predictions for who's getting upgraded in that roster update on Friday, who you can maybe invest in to hopefully make at least a little bit of stubs. And the comment section, I want to see maybe one or two guys that you think are a lock to get upgraded on that roster update on Friday. Try to help other people out. Who are you investing in? Let us know down in that comment section. Also, as always, just because I include somebody in the video does not mean that they're guaranteed an upgrade, and just because I don't include somebody does not mean that they're not deserving of an upgrade. Now, I usually start with pitchers. I just wanted to get y'all's feedback on Manny Machado because for me, I feel like he's probably going to get up to a 90 or higher, and I also wanted to point that out because we kind of knew that Jose Ramirez and Nolan Arenado would last week. And Jose Ramirez went from like 30,000 up to where he is now. Nolan Arenado went from like 20 to 30K where he is now. So I feel like I could see Manny Machado maybe doing the same thing if he gets up to a 90. So I want y'all's feedback. Do you think he's going to go 90 or higher? And if so, do you think his price is going to go up like Jose Ramirez and Nolan Arenado's did? This season, Manny Machado's currently in first in the MLB for batting average at 385, second in OPS. Versus lefties, he's hitting 500. Versus righties, 342. And then slugging 1,000 versus lefties, 506 versus righties. So looking at his attributes for me, I feel like his power versus lefties is probably solid where it's at. Maybe boosted above 100, but I feel like 98 is pretty high. Power versus righties, probably good where it's at, but where I feel like he can really maybe easily get to a 90 or higher is those contact boosts, man, because he's hitting 500 versus lefties on the season. And at this point of the year, I feel like he's got to have at least 90 contact, maybe even 95 or 96 in those 30 at-bats. And then in 79 at-bats versus righties, he's hitting 342. So I feel like that's got to be at least like 80, maybe 83, 485 or something versus righties. And I feel like just by upgrading his contact ratings versus righties and lefties, he could probably easily get to a 90. I made sure to pick up Manny Machado just in case he does get to a 90. I don't want to miss out like I might have on Jose Ramirez or Nolan Arenado. And now we're going to go to the pitchers. The first one I'm focusing on right now is going to be Zach Gallen from the Diamondbacks. Now, ERA is not the end-all be-all stat, right? The attributes here, there's none for ERA, but he's currently leading, I believe, the MLB in earned run average at 0.95. ERA plus he's leading in, whip he's leading in, which is pretty big. Walks, hits divided by innings pitched. He has not allowed a home run this season. So for that reason, I feel like the 65 home runs per 9 in his 28 and a third innings pitched has got to go up to at least like 75 or something. You got to get that up. He's walking way less hitters, right? 1.3 walks per 9 innings. In the previous years of his career, 3.6, 3.1, 3.7, 4.5, 4.1, and now he is 1.3. So it's way lower down at 1.3. So I feel like the walks per 9 attributes got to go up. Strikeouts per 9 is actually a little bit worse, so maybe see that go down a couple, but it's already not very high in the game. And then hits per 9 innings. He's at 5.1 this season compared to 8 last season, 6.9 the one before. So I feel like hits per 9 being where it's at has got to get up to at least a 90. And if Zach Gallen does not go gold on Friday, I would be very, very, very surprised. And then kind of funny to me, we're staying with the Diamondbacks, another one of their starting pitchers, Merrill Kelly. So Zach Gallen's ERA was, I think, an MLB leading 0.95. Zach Gallen is at 1.22 in, I think, 9 or maybe 10 innings more pitched than Zach Gallen. So Merrill Kelly's been insane. He has not allowed a home run either. So that 62 home run per 9 attributes got to go way up. No home runs allowed on the season. His walks per 9 is right around normal. Strikeouts per 9 is better than last year. So maybe boost that up 8.3 per 9 innings to maybe like 60, between 60 and 65. And then hits per 9 innings is at 7.1 compared to 9.3 last year, 7.5 the year before. So I feel like only allowing 7.1 hits per 9 innings, I feel like you need to get that 62 hits per 9 up a little bit. And I could honestly see Merrill Kelly if they upgraded him enough, going gold. But if he keeps pitching how he is, he's going to be gold in no time, whether it's this roster update or one of the ones in the future. And now for our first position player, done with pitchers in this video. We're on my first biased pick of the video. Juan Yepez on the Cardinals. Only 19 at-bats this year, but a 474 average. 500 versus righties, 1 for 3 so far versus lefties. So I feel like you can't really do much to his lefty attributes. He does have a double as his only hit, so maybe increase the contact and power a little bit. But versus righties, man, in 16 at-bats, he's 8 for 16, 2 doubles, 1 homer. So I feel like you got to boost his contact and power versus righties at least a little bit. And the way he's been playing in that small sample size, I could see him getting up to a bronze maybe, but he's definitely someone to watch out for. He looks pretty good so far. I don't know about y'all, but to me, Tim Anderson is one of the more underrated players currently in the MLB. I feel like he's consistently one of the highest guys when it comes to batting average, right? Last season, he hit 309, 322 the year before that, 335 to lead all the MLB the year before that, and he hits for a little bit of power too, right? He does hit some home runs and some doubles and everything. So I feel like just Tim Anderson overall is overrated. But looking at his attributes here, okay, he's way worse versus righties, really good contact versus lefties, and then a little bit lower power versus lefties. But on the season, okay, average versus lefties 529, boom, 102 contact, probably decent where it's at, maybe boosted up a little bit more. But in 17 at bats so far, 1000 slugging versus lefties. So I feel like you could get that power versus lefties getting close to, if not to 80. I just really don't know how many ABs they're going to want to see from him before they would boost it up a little bit more. Now versus righties this year, only a 293 average, but I feel like that's still good enough, and I feel like he's been consistently good enough versus righties in his career overall to probably have at least 70 contact versus righties, man. I feel like at least 70 is going to be good. And then 413 slugging versus righties, 2 homers, 3 doubles so far. Probably good where he's at with that 56, but he's somebody to watch out for. I don't have him going diamond this week, but if he keeps hitting lefties how he is, especially for power, and then he just stays solid versus righties, is right around 300 for that average, maybe gets it up above 300 versus righties, I think Tim Anderson could pretty easily get to a diamond at some point. But he's definitely someone to look out for, and I could see him getting to an 83, maybe an 84 this week. I'm sure a lot of people probably already have this same idea, but man, the way Taylor Ward's been playing since the beginning of the year and everything like that, and since even the last roster update, I could see Taylor Ward maybe go and go this Friday, but if not this Friday, 2 weeks in the next roster update. Man, he's just killing it this season though. 474 average versus lefties, 328 versus righties, 632 slugging versus lefties, 690 slugging versus righties. So I feel like that power versus lefties got to go up at least a little bit. Definitely get the contact up to maybe in the 80s with that 474 average, or maybe right around 80. And then 328 average versus righties and 58 at bats. I feel like 58 contact versus righties is a little bit low, man. I feel like Taylor Ward easily this week gets to like a 77, 70, 78 maybe, but I wouldn't be super surprised if it was all the way to a gold, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't go gold quite yet, but might be a good investment for a more long-term type of thing the way he's been playing this season. Now, I don't know if they would upgrade Rowdy to a gold just quite yet, but he's another guy to look out for, man. I could see a small boost like 77, 78 this week, and if he keeps playing how he has been recently, more importantly, since that last roster update, he's been doing really well. I could see him being on gold watch a little bit. In 74 at-bats versus right-handed pitching, 270 average, 19 ABs versus lefties, 211 average. So contact versus lefties probably not going to be going up, but I feel like the contact versus righties could maybe get more in line with that contact versus lefties, maybe get a +8 at least up to like a 60. Slugging versus right-handed pitching this year, 608. So that power versus righties probably pretty good. He's been getting and hitting for more power recently, getting more doubles, more homers since that last roster update. Almost had, I think, 2 grand slams in one game the other day. And then 421 slugging versus lefties, 1 homer, 1 double in those 19 ABs. Probably not too much that you could really upgrade versus lefties, but versus righties, he's been doing good. Definitely get that contact up, and I could see him getting to like a 77, 78. And if he keeps hitting the way he has been recently, might even be on gold watch coming up soon. Austin Hayes is a perfect example of one of my favorite players to look at for roster updates. And the reason is, if I turn up the camera, he already has diamond defense. that is where a lot of players are lacking upgrades, right? Like somebody like Rowdy, he would be a much higher overall if he had a really good defense, like gold or diamond defense. And that's how so many players are in the game. They'd be a much higher overall if they had gold or diamond defense, like Austin Hayes does. Now, on the season for hitting, which is what we're looking at for most of our upgrades pretty much all the time, since they don't really touch fielding more than once or twice a year. Austin Hayes this season in 74 at-bats versus righties, 351 average. And that contact is at a 58. So that's getting up to at least a 65. I would be surprised if it wasn't a 70 or higher, if I'm going to be honest, on this roster update Friday. I feel like they'd be missing out. Now, in those 74 ABs, 541 slugging. That's 3 homers, 5 doubles. No triples for Austin Hayes, but I feel like 541 slugging could get him to at least 60 power, maybe like low to mid 60 powers. Now, versus lefties, he's not really doing too great this season, so I don't really want to focus on those at all. But just versus righties, especially that 351 average, that contact alone, I think would be enough to get him to an 82, maybe an 83. We see with inside edge right there, it takes the power and the contact, but for me, it really depends on what they do with the contact. 351 average, 74 ABs. I would probably put it between 75 and 80 for the roster update. So we'll have to wait and see what they actually do. But he's definitely someone to watch out for if he keeps hitting the way he is, since he already has the diamond defense. He could, I don't want to say easily go diamond, but it would be easier for him than somebody else. Now, Christian Yelich isn't doing amazing this season or anything like that. 248 average, 4 homers, 775 OPS, that's definitely above average. I think the average is kind of above average compared to everybody else. But Yelich right now, only a 76 overall, and he's another guy that doesn't have great defense, but I could see Yelich going gold if he keeps hitting the way he has been recently, right? Since the last roster update, he's really been picking it up, hitting for more power, hitting for a better average. He's just been doing a lot better and looking more like old Christian Yelich. Now, with that being said, 258 average versus lefties, 243 versus righties on the season, 387 slugging, 457 slugging versus lefties and righties. So he's not doing amazing yet, but he's been playing better recently, and I feel like he's somebody that they would easily upgrade him if he starts getting on a hot streak, and he's somebody that I'm probably going to buy like 4, 5, 6 of just in case he does get up to a gold. Now, the final guy that I'm going to focus on is the Rays player, Manuel Margot. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I feel like I am. I'm just so bad with pronunciation sometimes. But Manuel Margot on the season, get this, okay? 381 average versus lefties, 21 ABs, smaller sample size, but everyone's got smaller samples versus lefties. And then 62 at-bats versus righties for a 306 average, 516 slugging versus righties, 429 versus lefties, 3 homers, 2 doubles, and a triple versus righties. So I feel like because he's actually hitting for, I feel like, a bit more power versus righties this season than lefties, I feel like it's time to get that power versus righties a little bit further apart from the power versus lefties, maybe get it up to like 50, 51, something like that. And then for his contact, right, 381 average versus lefties, I think it can go even higher than 80, maybe like 84, 85. And then with a 306 average versus right-handed pitching, that's got to go up, man. 306 on the season versus righties, he needs at least 60. If he does not get to at least 60 contact on Friday versus right-handed pitching, I'd be super surprised. Now, I don't see him going gold Friday. I think it could happen. More likely, I feel like he's going to be like a 78 or a 79. I feel like there's a chance he goes gold, but it's really going to depend, okay, how much do they actually want to increase that contact versus righties? How much do they want to increase versus lefties, if at all? And then same thing for the power, man. How much do they actually want to increase it versus righties? So I have him on gold watch, but if I had to put money on it, I would probably guess 78, maybe 79. But either way, definitely watch out for Manuel Margot. He's been killing it this season, and he could be a good, maybe even long-term investment, or maybe short-term for Friday. And that's going to be it for my roster update predictions for today. Just because I didn't include somebody in this video does not mean that they're not deserving. These are just the guys that I personally focused on and did a little bit of extra research on and everything like that. And just because I included somebody in this video does not mean they're guaranteed an upgrade. But I hope you guys liked it. Can't wait to see who you're guessing is going to get upgraded in that comment section. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.